Hello, welcome back to the Far North Food Forest. It's December, winter is here, the leaves have vanished from all of our trees, and now we're out actually taking some willow, some golden willow, cutting that up into small sticks so we can plant those sticks later on in the year, so later next year. Also, I'm just looking at one or two other sticks that are around. We've got some hazel right in here. You can see it growing nice and straight in there. So we'll cut some of those out and use those to support some of our roses later on. Lots of little jobs that can be done in the winter, but we tend not to be too tidy. There's a lot of wildlife. There's obviously scrambling around now below our feet in these sort of areas, and the forest is full of places for little creatures to hide for the winter and to go sleep a little, hide a little, try and stay warm until the spring. So yeah, try not to be too tidy. So the willows that we're cutting back at the moment, just along here, there's a golden willow. Cut those back. We'll create a little bit of a hedge just between the westerly side of the croft food forest, where most of the wind comes from, just to protect these gooseberries. Another thing I like to do this time of year is, if you just look on the ground here, you can see some of these gooseberries, for example, have just embedded themselves in the ground, and these will create nice new gooseberries because they'll root in there. So some of those I'll take up, dig up, put them in pots, and we'll have a nice new gooseberry bush. But most of what we do at the moment this time of year is stay warm inside and watch the wildlife that we can do that's around this time of year. There is still a few cones on the trees from alders, for example, so the finches, we'll have a go at those. We've got plenty of those that we're going to be starting off, so we'll hopefully have a few more older saplings growing next year. Surprising what is still alive here is the little white roses, still just about surviving, which is nice. If you look around, pretty much everything is dying back. So you can see that fallen tree there that we're going to cut back. Just really wanted to check and see what parts of it would be alive, but I think it's pretty much all dying back there. The root has been pulled up part way from the ground. So if we don't cut it right down, we might cut it in half, so it hasn't got quite so much to try and preserve with the root that's left in the ground. But I think that will need to probably come down altogether. So there'll be some work on some of the taller willows, as you can see around here, and cutting back some of the other trees too, just in preparation for the new year. That's our hourly bus, or 2 hourly bus that comes past. Yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, I think we'll be cutting back some of the trees, just being aware of the wind that we get, and also we have to think about the light that gets into the forest, gets to the shrubs, to the fruit bushes and so on, so we need to make sure that we've got enough light for them. and some of these will be cut back and left either on the ground around the trees themselves, or we have a big pile of branches that we save up to put in the bottom of any new raised beds that we're keeping, or we'll cut them back for willow sticks to either pass on to somebody else or use them ourselves on our land. So yeah, so that's the winter. This is what our croft looks like. We've had some more wind, quite strong wind recently again, as you can see here by the scattered chairs around the bonfire. I'm also noticing that some of our trees have softened there, so one of the willows has come down there, so we'll have to do something with that. But yeah, it looks fairly barren this time of year. So we have some dogwood in here, which we'll cut back a little bit, and some of this golden willow just here, which we'll cut back too. It's right next to this ditch that separates trees from these gooseberries, and make sure these gooseberries don't get waterlogged. Still going well though, just quite well in the cold winds. Don't die back too much. We'll probably have leaves from this for most of the winter. Get a really strong frost, it'll kill some things back, but I mean this has already had frost and it seems to be coping. See how bare things look this time of year. So here we are in one of our raised beds. So this elder that's growing in here will be taken out and got a little bit battered in the wind, I think actually, because it snapped. I've just taken off those loose branches which are here, and if you looked at my previous video on elder trees, you'll know that these can be used for various things, including making flutes or whistles. A flute is quite difficult to make, but certainly whistles. So if you're looking for a handmade Christmas present, have a go at making an elder whistle. The inside of the wood there is actually hollow. Well, it has a pith in the centre which you can knock out, and it creates quite a good space to be able to create a woodwind instrument. Something else that's appropriate for now is making some elderberry syrup for those people suffering from flu. It's very beneficial. So we'll put a recipe in the notes underneath this. You can add a bit of ginger or some lemon. Heat it up. We took ours out from the freezer, so you can actually freeze these if you haven't got a supply from this year. We had to look back and get some of ours from last year because of the winds we had this year knocked most of our elderberries off. But it really tastes quite nice. It reminds me a little bit of cranberry. So we heated up, then bottled it, and we have a spoonful of that each day just to keep the worst of flu away. 10-inch plus golden willow, good for weaving golden willow, so you could give that as a gift, I suppose. Some faster growing willow and some dogwood I'm cutting up as well, just keep it in a bucket of water. There's some camellia there, probably one of the first plants or flowers to show in the new year. But not much else growing. The hedges are still quite useful, they still cut back some of the wind for some of the more delicate things. A little bit of sweet Sicily still growing. And some of the comfrey that you see on the left here, that will probably keep growing, and we're going to transfer some of this over to place around the apple trees and along some of the grass edges to stop the grass moving in and underneath the hedgerows, choking things up. But yeah, all that remains for us now is to wish you all a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and hope that through your food forest or through your garden you begin to understand nature a little bit better than you did before. Thanks to our food forest and thanks to you for watching.